Welcome to Global Investment Voice, your premier podcast for diving deep into the world of investment migration. Are you dreaming of a second or third passport? Then join us as we traverse the globe, exploring the ins and outs of the U.S. EB-5 immigrant investor visa, uncover the secrets of golden visas, and delve into the many residency and citizenship by investment programs. Each episode is packed with exclusive insights from top industry experts. Whether you're an investor, developer, or a visionary entrepreneur, we're here to guide you through the complexities of global investment migration. And who better to navigate this journey with than your hosts, the dynamic legal duo of this industry, Mona Shah and Rebecca Singh. Plus, hear directly from a lineup of global investment migration leaders. So, buckle up and tune in to Global Investment Voice, where your global investment journey begins and expands.
Hi, Rebecca. Today we're talking about a destination which most people feel it should be described as paradise, New Zealand.
Oh, I would love to go, Mona. We need to make a work trip.
It's known for its breathtaking landscapes, I know, quality of life. It attracts people from all over the world. But, here's my take before we listen to our expert. It is so far away. It's geographically isolated. I would worry about a feeling of disconnect from global events, from trends, maybe just being isolated,
Yeah, but Mona, you have to look at the silver lining. It has a low crime rates. There's a good work-life balance. I mean, I think if those are what people are going to look for when they're coming out to New Zealand, they want that paradise. They want that the views and the picturesque, landscapes and maybe going hiking and doing all of that you can't get anywhere else.
Well, if you thrive on hustle and bustle, maybe it isn't for you. But let's listen to our expert.
Yeah, so Mona, joining us today, we have Mischa Mannix, who is from Greener Pastures, New Zealand, which is an investment management and lifestyle advisory firm. They specialize in helping investors secure residency in New Zealand. Mischa, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Lovely to be here with you both.
I think we wish we were with you. So,
especially on my blue sky shining day.
And we're here in rainy UK.
Well, it's sunny here in New York, but Mischa, let's start with the obvious. We all know New Zealand is stunning. It's a lifestyle that's considered one of the best in the world. I'm going to make it easy for you for the first 10 seconds only. From your perspective, what makes New Zealand such an attractive destination for investors?
Oh, rather than what I say, I think it's what our clients tell us. They're looking for the wonderful lifestyle that we have here, the diversity of landscapes, the outdoors lifestyle, the slower pace of life. They tell us it's a bit more simple down here. We don't always think that it is, but they see it that way. They're just looking for a nice balanced lifestyle, good work-life balance. I think those are all the things that the clients tell us we have, and I firmly believe that myself.
Right. Well, we have some pointers that we really want to throw back at you. But I think we'll start off with the fact that it's a relatively expensive program. I mean, it comes at 2.9 million, which by the time you've done all your lawyers' fees and everything else, that's 3 million. That is significantly higher than many of the other programs.
It is. And I think we actually probably are the fourth most expensive program in the world.
Yes.
But I don't think we shy away from that. The government has set this visa up, called the Active Investor Plus visa, to be really purposeful about the target of person that wants to apply for this visa. So not only bringing in financial capital into New Zealand, but the human capital that comes into New Zealand through these entrepreneurs, these successful business people who can help our New Zealand companies grow. And as an export nation, we know that, we need to bring that capital into New Zealand to grow our export companies, to grow jobs and grow our economy and our wealth.
Well, is the program, is it similar to the EB-5 program where is there job creation with it, or is it just bringing capital in?
And I have a second question to follow up on Rebecca's. This is residency, right? It's not citizenship. But does it guarantee, a smooth sailing?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, yes, there's no job creation required for this visa. It's an investment of the 5 million New Zealand dollars, or about 2.9 US million. There's no job creation specifically for this visa. And Mona, it is just residency. I say just residency, but it's permanent residency. So once permanent residency is gained, there's no other requirement for the client to come back to New Zealand ever again, but I'm sure they would want to, or to come here on a regular basis. So once they gain permanent residency, it is theirs forever. It can lead to citizenship, but that is a different program in that you do have to spend a minimum of 240 days a year for 5 years in New Zealand. So it's quite different to the Active Investor Plus visa.
So here are the other issues that, having read up, outside of the beauty and the lifestyle, there are other issues which, I feel like our listeners need to know. Number one is the high cost of living, especially in Auckland and Wellington.
Yeah, look, it's interesting that you say that a high cost of living. I don't necessarily see it in that way. I think, in New Zealand, of course, the city areas of New Zealand are certainly, we have a higher cost of living. That's no different to any other of countries around the world where their big cities have a high cost of living, particularly for property. But I don't necessarily see that as being something that is a deterrent to the people that I'm speaking to. So, yeah, no, I don't see that as being a real concern.
Okay, but I've read that the cost of imported goods, for example, are far higher in New Zealand, and you have limited consumer choices. There's no daily Amazon deliveries, for example.
Isn't that nice, though? I think that's part of the idea of having a more simpler life in New Zealand. We can still have all of those things that you might want to have, but no, you might not have the daily deliveries, and certainly in the little village that I live of 2,500 people, you don't have those daily deliveries and that accessibility, but you can still have. I had an international delivery arrive yesterday in my home. I waited 7 days. I'm fine with that.
But Mischa, for those who are planning to emigrate to New Zealand, and if they want to work or run their own businesses, what challenges would they face, for example, in the market size, talent availability? If you're saying your village only has a couple of thousand people, that sounds wonderful, but it doesn't help businesses to grow.
Oh, I'm just one of the many provincial towns of New Zealand, but that's not indicative of the opportunity that exists in New Zealand to grow businesses. We have a wonderful tech sector growing in Wellington, our capital city. We are an export nation with a large number of early stage exporters that are seeking capital through this visa actually to help grow them and move them to the next chapter in their business growth. So there's a huge amount of opportunity here, and there's a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity in New Zealand. We have a little saying in New Zealand, and it comes from our farming background, where we have a lot of fences made with number 8 wire. It's called number 8 wire, and the idea being that we have a number 8 wire mentality. We have a really strong kind of creative and innovative depth to New Zealand businesses, and looking for ways in which we can come up with new ideas and fresh thinking that help, create new opportunities for businesses and our people. So I don't see that there's a limitation at all. In fact, our government is very open to growing businesses and bringing economic growth into the country further.
Well, what about your healthcare education systems? Is it similar to the US where, that we have our health insurance policies and you're paying for healthcare? Or is it similar to the UK where you have the National Health Service? Or what about the education system? Are you paying, costs are high for universities in the US. What's the difference with New Zealand?
Sure. So from a healthcare perspective, every resident of New Zealand gets access to free public healthcare. So, for example, you might pay a fee to go to the GP for the general practitioner, and that might sit around $50 to $60. But besides that, if you need any hospital care or any diagnostic tests, all of that is free as part of our public healthcare system. It's optional to add private medical insurance into the mix, but that's a personal choice. For example, I have that, but I have friends and family that don't. So it's really just a personal choice. And I think that's a real attraction for New Zealand, is that free public healthcare system that we do have. And I think it's a wonderful thing that, that we do have for Kiwis and for our residents and citizens. From an education perspective, at a primary level, at the youngest level of schooling, so elementary level, there's no fee for our public school system. There's a donation system. You can make a donation to the school, and that's encouraged.
Oh, like a charter school. That's like a charter school, I would suppose, yes.
Well, it's really just a donation that you make. It's free public education system, and then through into high school as well. And then there's the optional that you can have your children at what's called integrated schools, which are either a combination of private and public, or completely private schools as well. So we do have a range of options for families to consider based on the needs of their children. And when you get to university, one thing that's great about this Active Investor Plus visa is once you become a resident of New Zealand, which is during the investment period of the visa, our clients' families do have access to all of our education system, including the universities, at the same domestic fee structure that we have for New Zealanders. So that again is a real attraction. And I've spoken to a few clients that are considering New Zealand outside in Asia, from Asia, and that's a real attraction to them because they are looking for countries that can give their children an English education at the university.
Right. Mischa, I do have one question which I hear a lot whenever I'm reading up about New Zealand and from people, is that it is the natural beauty is undeniable, but it is geographically isolated and you are far away from the rest of the world. In your opinion, does having the benefits of living a safe and peaceful life, does that outweigh a feeling of isolation, or have you heard of people leaving because they feel isolated?
What's really interesting is that in my previous career, back in the early 2000s, I worked in tourism and I was based in North America, and we used to try and attract North Americans and Americans to come down to New Zealand on holiday. And one of our biggest challenges was New Zealand's distance away from America, a 12-hour flight. And now my career has gone completely full circle because that's the attraction. The safe haven idea of New Zealand being so far away from the world, still connected, and still well informed on global issues and what's going around and going on in the world, but really see the distance that we have being so far away from the global volatility as a real attraction. So no, I think it outweighs any sort of 12-hour flight.
Mona, this is where something like the nomad visa would be helpful. If you wanted to spend like that 6 months in New Zealand and just, kind of be there, see what it's like. I mean, we hear a lot of people doing that, spending a few months, somewhere in Europe. So being out in New Zealand, I think that would be wonderful.
Well, actually, I was reading a blog post from somebody who did just that. Mischa, maybe you would like to comment, but some of the quirks and oddities that she'd mentioned was that there was limited public transport in some areas. There was a lack of air conditioning in some homes and you still had heat. And the biggest thing was the constant need for insect repellent.
Oh, I wonder where they were travelling. My children went to school this morning. They did not put insect repellent on. They put sunscreen on, but they didn't put insect repellent on. So no, I don't know where that person was travelling. Look, in terms of public transport, we do have very good public transport in our cities, but look, it isn't in the small towns and the provincial regions. So New Zealand is known as one of the best self-drive countries in the world. So, driving on our open roads also has quite a lot of appeal in the case that we don't have public transport.
But do you have long traffic jams?
Like any city in the world, there's always going to be some traffic jams, but I wouldn't say that it's any different to any other city in the world, and in cities like Auckland. And as for the air conditioning, look, our temperatures don't typically get much higher than 30 degrees Celsius, sometimes a bit higher than that. So the need for air conditioning actually isn't that strong. My idea of air conditioning is opening up my ranch slider on my deck in the evenings and sitting by the open fire. That's our Kiwi lifestyle.
That sounds beautiful. I have to say that I grew up without air conditioning either in the UK. So that must have been a comment from an American who likes a lot of ice and a lot of cold. New Zealand has a lot to offer. There's without a doubt. And yes, there's always going to be a criticism. Nowhere, I suppose, will not have a criticism. But I think definitely the beautiful scenery, your friendly, welcoming people, it just outweighs everything else.
Yeah, look, I spoke to a client recently and he said New Zealand is stunningly beautiful, but your superpower is your people. And he said it was just magical when he was spending his time here. And actually, he was here on holiday, and then how do I make this a reality for living here? So it just goes to show that when you come here and you have that experience, and maybe, Mona, you and Rebecca need to do that, you'll get to see what the attraction really is.
Well, I'm ready.
Thank you, Mischa. We have a lot more to ask you. We have all kinds of issues, including taxes. So we would love to have you back. But thank you for joining us on Global Investment Voice.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Global Investment Voice. A huge thank you to all our listeners for tuning in and sharing this journey with us. Curious about unlocking the potential of global migration and citizenship? Make sure to visit us online at mshalaw.com and globalinvestmentvoice.com. Dive into our extensive library of podcast episodes. Stay ahead with the latest in migration news by signing up for our insider newsletter. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to keep the conversation going. Remember, the insights shared in our podcast are for informational purposes only, so please seek tailored legal, financial, or investment advice where needed. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep investing smart and living well with Global Investment Voice. We'll see you on the next episode